As soon as my sister and I moved to the new city, something felt off. It was Christmas, a time that should have been filled with joy and cheer, but not for us. Our new home, ancient and majestic, harbored dark secrets. On the first night, I heard eerie whispers emanating from the empty room in the attic. Driven by curiosity and fear, my sister and I decided to investigate. As we entered, the door slammed shut behind us, plunging the room into darkness. A scent of decaying pine needles hung heavy in the air. In the corner, something stirred, sending chills down our spines. Under the flickering light of an old lantern, we saw an ancient Christmas tree adorned with peculiar ornaments. These were not ordinary decorations. They were crafted from old toys and photographs of children whose empty eyes seemed to follow our every move. Suddenly, the tree branches began to move as if they had a life of their own. Reaching out towards us with a sinister intent, we rushed to the door, but it was firmly locked. That's when we heard a voice. It belonged to a boy who lived here many years ago. His tone was mournful, filled with a chilling sorrow. He told us that every Christmas his spirit returned to this house, searching for a companion to join him in his eternal existence. The only escape was through a hidden mechanism my sister fortuitously discovered, which unlocked the door. Since that night, each Christmas brings an unnerving sensation of unseen eyes watching us, a constant reminder of that terrifying night. It's a haunting memory that some secrets are better left undiscovered, and some spirits never rest. As the chill of December crept in, I found myself alone in a decrepit manor that I had inherited from an uncle I barely knew. The manor, lost in a thick forest, was as isolated as it was ancient, and with Christmas approaching, I felt a growing sense of unease. On my first night, the wind howled like mourning spirits, and as I settled into the dusty old bedroom, the air turned icy. I heard the faint sound of a melody, like a Christmas carol, coming from somewhere deep within the manor. It was odd and unsettling, as I was certain I was alone. Curiosity overcame my fear, and I followed the melody through the dimly lit corridors. The music led me to the manor's grand hall, where a decrepit Christmas tree stood, its lights flickering in a rhythm that matched the haunting tune. Underneath the tree lay a collection of old, wrapped gifts, their labels faded with time. As I approached the tree, the air grew colder, and the melody grew louder. I reached out to touch one of the gifts when a sudden sharp pain shot through my hand. It was then I noticed the tree's ornaments were not ornaments at all, but a collection of small, staring skulls, each one grinning grotesquely. I staggered back, my heart racing, when I heard a child's giggle behind me. Turning, I saw nothing but the flickering shadows. The giggling continued, echoing through the hall, as if children were hiding in the corners, watching me. Terrified, I ran back to my room, barricading the door. But even there, the giggling followed, seeping through the walls. That night, visions of those grinning skulls haunted my dreams, and I woke to the sound of soft whispers and a cold breath upon my neck. The next morning, I fled the manor, never to return. The memory of that night lingers with me, a chilling reminder of the unseen horrors that lurk in forgotten corners, especially during the darkest of Christmases. On a silent Christmas Eve in a small snow-covered town, I was alone in my family's old cabin, miles away from anyone. The night was unnaturally still, and the only sound was the occasional creak of the wooden walls. As midnight approached, I decided to sit by the fireplace, trying to shake off an inexplicable feeling of dread. The fire flickered, casting eerie shadows across the room. That's when I first heard it. A faint jingling sound like sleigh bells growing closer. At first I thought it was just my imagination, fueled by the Christmas tales of my childhood. But then the jingling stopped abruptly. replaced by heavy footsteps on the roof. I froze, my heart pounding. This was no ordinary visitor. I remembered the old legend my grandfather used to tell about a dark version of Santa who visited not to give, but to take. As the footsteps moved towards the chimney, I saw a shadow loom over the fireplace. A figure emerged, draped in tattered red robes, its face hidden in the shadows. But it wasn't the jolly old Saint Nick. Its eyes glowed with a sinister red light, and its hands were gnarled and claw-like. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. The creature spoke in a voice that was a guttural growl. Naughty or nice? It wasn't a question, but a verdict. As it stepped closer, the air grew colder, and I could see my breath turning into frost. In a panic, I grabbed the nearest object, an old iron poker, and swung it at the creature. It hit, and the figure vanished in a cloud of soot, leaving behind only the chilling sound of its laughter and the faint smell of brimstone. I spent the rest of the night awake, lights blazing, waiting for dawn. When morning came, I found hoof prints in the snow outside, too large for any ordinary animal. That Christmas Eve changed me forever. I learned that some childhood legends are rooted in darker truths, and some nights it's better not to know what walks in the cold darkness outside.